Yo, welcome back to another Pokemon Scarlet Violet VGC video. I'm your host, Jose Rocks, and today we're going to be getting into a ranking video right before Worlds begins. So Worlds 2024 for Regulation G is set to start tomorrow on Friday on the 16th, and we're recording this on the Thursday. So we're going to be pretty much, not sure why all these pop-ups keep happening today, but we're going to be ranking them pretty much based on what you might see the most, or what might be the most common restricted, right? And stay tuned to the end of the video because I'm going to give my pick for what I think is going to win Worlds. And then after Worlds, we'll come back and see, you know, how accurate we was as far as how close we got to picking the winner of Worlds. So to start our list, just a quick breakdown. We have S tiers, which are busted. You must have answers for them. We have the A tier, which are going to be pretty much good on every team, winners. B team plays its role well, reliable. C fits on one type of team, niche. D is decent, but something else does its job better. It's outclassed. And F pretty much don't use these; they're mediocre. So a lot of restrictors aren't really F tier. We can start off by going ahead and putting, like, you know, Cosmog and some of the incomplete forms, because you're just not gonna see them, right? Just for the fact that they're incomplete, and they're like fusions of stuff, right? I think, yeah, this is F tier too. I think that's all of them. I just kind of want to get them out of the way so we don't, you know, waste any time speaking about them. And then we'll go in order from that point. So I think those are going to be the only F tiers. And, you know, majority of them just fusions that are incomplete. So first we have Koraidon. I think Koraidon is going to be a B tier. I do think that it can, since this Pokemon isn't really figured out in its format, I do think that it can, like, make a showing at Worlds and be pretty good. And also surprise some people with some archetypes using it that we haven't seen, right? I also have built an archetype that I haven't seen that I'm going to be showcasing on my channel in the next, you know, couple of days or so when I post some more Regulation G content. And I don't know if that set will be, you know, something that you'll see with that archetype that I built or at Worlds, but I do think that this Pokemon has a lot of room to be explored, and I don't think we've seen the best of it yet. Miraidon. I'm going to say Miraidon is A tier. I think that it used to be S tier, but now, like, teams are so built to counter it with, like, ground terrors and grass terrors and just, like, a lot of Rillaboom around the format. And it kind of lost the, you know, the surprise factor, where even though it's a best of 3, a lot of people just didn't realize how much damage this thing is capable of doing, right? So that's why I was able to, like, do really well. But I still think it is really good, and if you don't have counterplay to it, then it can really just sweep through your entire team, right? Without you being able to do much about it. So I do think that you really do have to have answers to it, but I don't think that it's a S tier anymore. But it's still a really good mon. Like, I think it's good on pretty much any team that you want to add it to. It doesn't even have to be an electric terrain team for it to, you know, function well. Like I said, the first team that won the regional with this mon didn't even use, like, an electric terrain user or like a cork drive user that takes advantage of electric terrain. So it's a really good mon. I'm gonna say Terapagos is B tier as well. With Urshifu being so prevalent in the format and Zamazenta being really good, I think it kind of fell off. I think it's very linear, where if it's on your team, you know it wants to Terra, and if it doesn't Terra, you're not really getting the most out of it. So it kind of like hogs the Terra button, right? And if your team really just has one dedicated Terra, that decreases your options that you have against your opponent, which can help you in the long run when the games come down to, like, making reads and things like that, and your opponent really knows that you want to make or like game 3s, right? And your opponent knows that you really want to tear Terapagos. Now, while that can work to you sometimes in your favor, like, you can have Terapagos just never terrestrialize it and kind of play those mind games. If you're using Terapagos to not terrestrialize it, then why are you really using it at that point, right? So I do think it's B tier for that role. It is a good mon. I'm not surprised if we see some new archetypes built around that as well. Mewtwo is going to be D tier. Mewtwo is still a fan favorite. It's the first ever restricted. But it's just so many things that are more powerful psychic type users. Even like Armarouge and stuff like that with psychic terrain, it's just a better mon than Mewtwo, right? And doesn't take up a restricted slot. And with, you know, how many good psychic types we have that are also restricted, it's just not really a place for Mewtwo, right? It's just unfortunate because whenever Mewtwo is going to be in a format where it's not banned, it's just stuck with all these other restrictors that it can't really keep up with, right? I don't know how good Mega Mewtwo is going to be X and Y when they come back, but I do think that maybe Mewtwo, like, needs a buff or needs something that a new ability that makes it so it gets stabbed on like all of his elemental moves and stuff like that, just to give it like some type of niche or maybe make it a little bit faster. But until then, it's, Mewtwo is really gonna always kind of be in the D tier. Lugia is C tier for me. I built a team around it. I think it is good, but I think it is niche. I think it has to have specific cores built around it, like Comfy or like Rillaboom Ensign, like so it can set up with Calm Mind. Or you might see like occasional like weakness policy, like Raichu type Volt Switch Lugia. But even those are incredibly niche too as well, right? So it only fits on those type of teams. I think that somebody may bring it to Worlds just because it's their favorite mon and may get it like a win on stream or something like that. But I don't think that it's going to be any higher than C. I'm gonna say I'm really surprised that Ho-Oh's B tier for me. I'm really surprised that it's not seeing more play with just being a fire type. If you're able to tear into fire, of course that makes you weak to Calyrex Ice or high horsepower. But they have to go for that read, right? And just like having Terra Fire like in the sun with like a sun user, well, I think it'll be better in a double restricted format. But like even like with Torkoal and then set up Trick 'em, like Ho could play on the Trick 'em because it's got like a middling speed tier. But I just think that this with like Terra Grass is just a really consistent mom. You can also like slap on like Brave Bird or stuff like that. Flying coverage is really hard to get in this format. So having something that can hit with stab Brave Bird with a pretty high physical attack, I don't see why more teams haven't been built around Ho, because I think it's very bulky and terrestrializing is like perfect for it, right? What used to hold it back is like the 4 times weakness to like rock and like being weak to electric and water and all these other weaknesses, right? But with terrestrialization, like you're able to get away from a lot of that stuff. So I'm really surprised to see like not a single Ho. I probably play like maybe one Ho team on the ladder. But if Regulation G is supposed to be returning after Regulation H, if that does come back, then I'm probably going to try to build around Ho, because I kind of like it, and I think that it feels like it's a good mon that works in a terrestrializing format, but we're still not seeing it. I think Kyogre's S tier. I think a lot of people have slept on this mon, and I think that it's going to show up in Worlds in a big way. I think that, of course, Miraidon is a boon for it, like kind of annoys it because of the electric coverage. But other than that, like plus with terrestrialization, like Assault Vest, you're able to kind of get around that, right? And if it's going for Draco Meteor into you, then and you have like a Wolchin to just heal yourself back up, then Miraidon's kind of in a really bad spot at that point, right? But I think Kyogre Specs, Kyogre Scarf, Kyogre Calm Mind, Leftovers, it's just so many different sets that it get that can be really good. And like Rain is really good with Gastrodon. It's not like something that's common in the format. You're probably not going to see any Gastrodon at Worlds, and it's not like any Rain Your Sun running around anymore, right? So I think Kyogre's going to be S tier. I'm making like a hot take that it's going to show out at Worlds and get a couple wins, but we'll see tomorrow. Groudon, I can't put Groudon in C tier just because I know what it can enable, but I don't think it's better than Koraidon. I think it is better than Ho-Oh right now, but it's just because it enables so many of the Sunsetters, and it's just a different look on like Sun instead of like going with Koraidon, which is 4 times weak to Fairy. You have Groudon that's actually good in the Flutter Mane, right? Especially with an Assault Vest or a Clear Amulet, and just a lot of Spadef investment. Groudon can be good. It's just Precipice Blaze, man. Precipice Blaze hurts, but I've seen like a lot of Gravity teams be able to do well. The only thing about that is it's kind of predictable. They see it coming, but when this Precipice Blaze are hitting, like Groudon feels like one of the best restrictors, but the inconsistency just hurts it, right? And I honestly think they should buff Precipice Blaze and Origin Pulse to 100% accurate if they're gonna keep having mons like Calyrex Shadow and Ice that have similar base power moves that are 100% accurate, right? Plus they also give their ability allows them to get a boost, right? I think it's fair that Kyogre and Groudon both get like 100% accurate signature moves. I think restricted signature moves should always be 100% accurate. They're supposed to be busted. They're restricted. It's very limited of them that you can use them, so it makes sense. Like Zacian and Calyrex and both Calyrex forms, and also like Miraidon, they function like real restrictors because their signature moves are 100% accurate, right? And like they're busted. They're supposed to be busted. So I don't see why these two signature moves aren't 100% accurate, but we'll see in the future. Uh, Rayquaza, it's like a C tier. You may see some on like a Zacian team. I don't think you're gonna see it at Worlds at all. I still want to build around it because I think that it's fun to use like on ladder. I just haven't had the time during these last couple months to build around it. But like I said, this format comes back. I'm definitely gonna be using a lot more of the other restricteds, more so than the common ones, right? But I do think that it can really surprise your opponents on like best of one ladder. But you know, in best of three, like they know you're gonna be normal tier, they know you're gonna swords dance, and they can kind of play around that. Dialga Origin, I don't want to put it in D tier because I did lose to it one time on the ladder, but I don't think you're gonna see it at Worlds. It's just the cost of using this instead of like one of the other powerful restricteds is just a little bit too high for something that's probably gonna want to play on the Trick Room. And at that point, if you want a Trick Room restricted, you might as well just use Calyrex Ice. Regular Dialga, we're gonna probably put that in the C tier. Doesn't do anything better than the Origin form, and the Origin form just has better stats. This Palkia is also a B tier. I don't really want to put it any lower than that, but I do think it's better than Dialga. I actually built a team around this on Showdown that I'm probably going to bring out in the next format if this format comes back. That was really cool. I just haven't had the time to showcase it. Same with Palkia, we'll put it in the C tier. Actually, no, I think Palkia, funny enough, this Palkia like can be like a really good solid, you know, counter hyper offense with, well, Hydro Pump can miss, so never mind, we'll put it in the C tier. Now, Spatial Ren is signature attack. It is a really good move, but also it's 95% accurate. Just make it 100% accurate, right? Like, does it really need that 5% nerf? That 5% miss sometimes can really hurt. Like, just imagine anytime you miss like a Sacred Fire with Ho-Oh or with Entei, right? It really hurts when it's like 95% accurate. So, that being the case, I'm going to put it in C tier. Plus, its best water move is Hydro Pump, and that definitely can miss, and that's really not consistent. In a lot of ways, Palkia kind of feels like Groudon when it's always missing in Hydro Pumps. Giratina, D tier. Just use Dragapult if you're going to use Dragon or Ghost. Either one of them are really that good. Even the Origin form is not like on the same tier as like these Origin forms, right? I'll probably put it in C tier then. It is a little bit better than that one. Reshiram, also C tier. I think Lugia is better than it though because Lugia has a clear niche. Reshiram doesn't know whether it wants to play on Sun teams or whether it wants to, you know, just play on Hyper Offense team, take advantage of Terra. Its signature move, Blue Flare, is unfortunate that it can miss. Same with like Bolt Strike. Like, I don't know what they were thinking like with these restrictors. Like they want to make them busted with their stats, but then they give them inaccurate moves that they should just buff to like 100%, right? Then they would be a lot better. But the fact they're not buffed to 100% just makes them like lag way behind some of the more common restrictors that we have. Kyurem Ice, I think it's a B tier. It's gonna be really good on like those ice teams. I think it's better than Groudon. I just think you're not seeing it on the field right now. But I do think it has a niche as well as this. You can't ignore that base 170 physical attack. You're just not seeing any play like this with a clear Amulet and a good Terra. I'm gonna try, like I said, in the next format, I'm gonna try to build around like all of these different restrictors. I was supposed to have done it, but I just didn't have the time. But I'm gonna have a lot more, you know, a lot of things more in place so that I can make more content. And I know that, you know, the community would probably like to see some competitive teams built around these that are actually viable. Next we have Solgaleo. It hard loses to Flutter, which is going to be common. It loses to Groudon. It loses to Kyogre. It doesn't really take, you know, rain attacks well. It loses to Calyrex Shadow, which is going to be like one of the best restricteds. And while it does have a decent matchup into Calyrex Ice, if Calyrex Ice gets a boost, it can just one-shot you with high horsepower. So I think it's also C tier, but I do think that it may be better than Lugia, but we just haven't seen that yet. Lunala is going to be also a B tier for me. I think it's right there with Groudon. I think it's underplayed. I think you will see some Lunala teams at Worlds, and I think it can do well. Fairy Terra is really good on this moment. I actually think it's better than these two, as a matter of fact. It is a little bit better than those two. Duskmane Necrozma, I'm going to say, I don't want to put it in, because I also lost to this, another Trick Room core. And it tricked me because I thought it was a Trick Room team, but it was like Dragon Dance, and I actually like lost on camera with one of my Lugia teams like right at the last minute. I just barely missed out on winning that game by like a Tornadus Bleak win connecting, right? But I did lose to it. I know it can like have like a little niche, so I'm gonna put it in B. Actually, it's niche, man. It only fits on those certain teams. I can't put it in B tier. And matter of fact, this only fits on Trick Room teams too, so that's gonna go into B tier as well. So I'm gonna have to say Dialga's D tier at that point. All right. I think this is fair. I think Giratina's better than Dialga. I think Dialga's better than these two though, but I don't think it's better than Lugia in my opinion. I kind of like this. I think this is good. I think this one is a little bit better than the other one, but because I know what I played with this on a ladder and I've seen it like kind of sweep, so I kind of know what it can do. Necrozma, Dawn Wings, also niche, fits on those same type of Trick Room teams. We'll put it right here. Zacian. Now Zacian is gonna be B tier for me. I think Zacian is better than Lunala. This is kind of crazy. This is a former S tier mon on anybody's tier list, right? Actually, I think it's better than Terapagos. And this is a hot take for me, but like I said, I almost hit #1 in the world with Zacian on like a Dondozo team. Even though like Dondozo was doing most of the carrying, like Zacian came in and just felt like it was just so easy to win the game once it hit the field, right? And it still felt strong to me like once like Incineroar was removed. Like it could just like, it's very deceptively bulky. It can take a lot of hits. It takes a lot to just one KO this if it's not super effective. And it's just good in my opinion. I think you'll see some at Worlds. Zacian is still a good mon, and it's still the former world champion as far as restricted formats go for 2022. So it does still have the crown along with Calyrex Shadow Rider, right? So we don't want to like put it too low on the list just because it's gonna be trying to defend its title, right? So we'll see how well it can do. Regular Zacian, it's gonna be D tier. It's actually better than these. I'm gonna put it like right here around Palkia. This mon, even without its crown form, but this one can hold an item like Killer Amulet. It's a lot better than these. Same with this Zamazenta, but it's a significantly worse than this because of just the plain fighting typing. I'll put it right there. I think it's better than Zekrom though. And Zamazenta, I think Zamazenta's A tier. It's a toss up for whether it's better than Miraidon or not. I'm not 100% sure, but I still think that Zamazenta is really good. Iron Defense, Wide Guard, Protect, Heavy Slam, even though it's kind of consistent, I mean kind of like common, it's very like consistent and good into a lot of mons. Eternatus, I don't know if this mon is reliable, but I do think it plays its role. It's like, I mean, most people want to just use Toxic and Cosmic Power, right? But I think they're kind of closed mind when it comes to it. I think that it can be really good with like Meteor Beam or like Life Orb and just like going into its offenses because it's really bulky to where you don't have to invest into its bulk for it to take a hit, and you can like fully invest into its speed and its offense, right? And I still think it's good. It's not seeing any play right now, right? All right, next we have Calyrex. Calyrex Ice is going to be S tier. Definitely better than Kyogre. Trick Room teams really revolve around this thing. Another thing is a psychic type, so you know all the other psychic types are pretty much invalidated. Like Mewtwo can't even hold a candle to this thing, right? But it's really good. Glacial Lance can't miss. You can run it bulky. You can run it Clear Amulet so it can ignore Incineroar's Intimidate. High horsepower plus Glacial Lance is really good coverage. You really don't need anything else other than Protect and Trick Room. Even though this set is so common, it's still a consistent. Now, what varies is how you run your Calyrex as far as speed. Whether you need Trick Room or not, you can run this without being min speed and don't have to always set up Trick Room, or you can run it at min speed and really like thrive in a Trick Room. So it's a lot of different ways to run like the EV spread on this, but the common, pretty much attacks are always going to be Glacial Lance, High Horsepower, Trick Room, and Protect. And last but not least, we have Calyrex S is the best restricted. It is better than Calyrex Ice because Calyrex Ice sometimes require like speed control to stay alive or to like win games when it's moving really slow. And other powerful restrictors can just move before it and hit it, right? Calyrex S doesn't have that issue. Now, while it does suffer under Trick Room, the normal field conditions are with Trick Room is not up, right? Normal field conditions are just regular base speeds without any moves set. And that being the case, it's the fastest restricted and it hits the hardest out of all the restricteds from the special side, and just also like just being a very powerful have very powerful psychic type coverage and ghost type coverage is really hard to switch into. Incineroar, while it can switch into it, it doesn't like taking like Choice Specs Acerage at Ghost Terror, And there's a lot of different ways that you can run this. You can run it with Leftovers, Calm Mind. You can run it with Covert Cloak and Nasty Plot. You can run it with Fairy Terror, with Draining Kiss. You can also run it with Ghost Terror, like I said, Focus Sash, Choice Specs. I've even seen some Choice Scarf, just to make sure that you outspeed other Calyrex for sure. And if you break their Sash or a Force Out of Terror for something else, you always win that because you outspeed them in one shot, I'm guaranteed. And it's just a really good mind. There's so many ways to run this mind. I think that, like, it's a reason that it won the previous Worlds, right? And I do think that it is a huge candidate to win it again, but it's not going to be the one that I picked to win Worlds. But I think that it has a lot of people's list top for it to win Worlds. You definitely have to have answers for it. And the fact that I think that people will be well prepared for both Calyrexes, I do not think that either one of them are going to win Worlds. So my pick for Worlds winner is going to be Zamazenta. Now, this may be a hot take, but even though Zamazenta's moveset is really common, so is Calyrex Ice, right? And Calyrex Ice moveset being predictable, it's still one of the best mods in the format. I think that this has an incredibly good matchup into both Calyrexes. Body Slam plus Body Press plus Iron Defense is such a strong, potent move. I think that this mon needs Pelipper. It needs Wide Guard, right? Because you can run Wide Guard on it, but then you're dropping like Iron Defense or Protect, and I don't think that's good. I think you need Iron Defense and Protect, so you kind of can sit in front of Calyrex Ice and don't have to worry about it. And then also you want to have like a Steel type coverage or Heavy Slam. If Fluttermane is not that common, you could probably drop Heavy Slam for something else, like maybe a Dark type attack or something, just to be able to deal more damage to Calyrex. But Calyrex is going to want to Terry and Nefera anyway, right? And that's going to make Heavy Slam valuable. But I think you need a Wide Guard user, so it's a plethora of Wide Guard users. Pelipper is like the best partner for it because you help reduce that fire weakness, and it also helps you deal with Incineroar. If Incineroar Ghost Terrors, Pelipper can still deal big damage to it. I do think that it needs like a Dark type on this team to help you deal with those Ghost Terrors to get around try to get around Body Press. But as long as you got like Pelipper, like you literally can have Pelipper help you with Wide Guard coverage and with Rain to reduce the fire damage, and then like Chien-Pao, which also boosts your Body Press, and also like having a Focus Sash just gives Chien-Pao a lot of survivability. And then I think with Pelipper you probably want to go like I say you could go left Life Orb, right, and just make it offensive. It really wants the Focus Sash, but since it's on Chien-Pao, then you really can't run it. If you want to just run Focus Sash on Pelipper, then you probably can change, Chien-Pao to like Clear Amulet, right? And then you can work from that point. But I think that these two like cover for a lot of the things that Zamazenta like deals with, and then you can round out your team with anything else that you want. And I think it's a pretty balanced team. But I do think that Zamazenta having like Wide Guard pressure, if it is like one of the ones that doesn't need the like when you have Chien-Pao, you don't necessarily need Iron Defense. But it's just like I've used Zamazenta in the beginning of the format, and it was so easy to beat Calyrex Ice teams, and I just really had to worry about Calyrex Shadow teams. And I really used like Chien-Pao to force out Terras, and then Pelipper Wide Guard pressure to protect with the Astral Barrage. It's just really good. So like I really feel like this is a strong core. And I do think that maybe why they may not be paired with Pelipper and Chien-Pao, I think that Zamazenta is going to win Worlds. I think that it makes sense that Zacian won it last year, and now Zamazenta has the comeback story of like a lifetime. It's such a beautiful story because of how bad Zamazenta was in Sword and Shield, and now it comes back in the next game and it wins. If I had to pick my second pick to win Worlds, this is another hot take. I think it's going to be some type of rare Koraidon team or a Miraidon team that push the meta with a new set or a new like sorry, I had a brain fart. It's gonna push the meta with like a new set, or it's gonna be like a new archetype that that they build around that's gonna win Worlds. So this will probably be my second pick with like a new archetype, and same with Miraidon was my third pick. But I do think that Zamazenta is gonna win Worlds. But that's my pick. Let me know in the comments who you guys think is gonna win Worlds. I know the easy pick is to say one of the Calyrex forms, or even like Terapagos or Kyogre. But I'm gonna go with Zamazenta. I think Zamazenta is probably the third best restricted in my opinion, right? I think it's better than Miraidon because I think it's harder to deal with sometimes if it gets set up than Miraidon is. And Miraidon with like really good gameplay or just having like a team built around it, a really good ground terror or Rillaboom, like it kind of like makes it harder for Miraidon. Like you really can't make the game harder for Zamazenta unless you force out a Terror into Ghost, and then at that point you're forcing your opponent to Terror, and you should have your team built in a way to deal with Ghost Terrors, right? Other than that, like this Pokemon is amazing. I think it's gonna win. But like I said, let me know in the comments below who you guys think is gonna win. And if you like this type of content, go ahead and subscribe for me, turn on those post notifications. We just hit 500 subscribers, so I do have a face cam coming soon. I'm gonna be doing a face reveal. So if you guys are interested in that, then go ahead and hit that sub button. But that's gonna be it for this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, deuces.